Interface Video presents Fairfield Today. Brought to you by Fairfield Federal Savings and Loan, Fairfield Medical Center, Fairhope Hospice and Palliative Care, the Fairfield County Board of Developmental Disabilities, and the Frankie Smith Funeral Home.
Welcome to Fairfield Today. I'm your host, Paul Jasson. Later in the show, we'll give a little plug here to Fire Chief Dave Ward. He'll be our second part. We'll talk about the fire department and the great services that they do in the community as we broadcast and telecast from the lobby downtown of Fairfield Federal, where all these folks here just do such a great job and certainly are welcoming to us each and every week as we take up a little corner of the space down here. We appreciate Fairfield Federal so much. So again, Dave will be the second part of the program. Got a little artsy part of the program coming up. I can remember years ago, and I don't know when Godspell came out, I would say in the 70s, I went to it up at the Ohio Theater with one of the traveling shows that came in there. Godspell was an amazing time for a lot of these great musicals out there, and now we're going to be fortunate enough to have a local production of that, and that's what we're going to talk about today. Godspell's coming to Lancaster. We're excited about that. The Lancaster Playhouse is going to put that on. Pleasure to have to my immediate right, Lauren Peterson. He's the producer. Lauren, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us. And Jim Cummins. Jim is on my far right. Jim's been in some of the things. He's also a board member there. Thank you for joining us today. We're excited to talk about Godspell. When we talk about great shows, that's in the hunt.
Yes,
that's a great one.
Very definitely. Stephen Schwartz wrote a musical that will go on forever. He's an award-winning playwright, and his credits are, for instance, Pippin, that's been on Broadway many times. When the Lancaster Playhouse chooses a musical or a play, we definitely have to consider the Lancaster community in Fairfield County, and we truly feel that Godspell is right there.
So the performances are going to be a little ways off, February 24th, 25th, and March 4th. So we have a little time, but I understand tickets are just going on.
Right.
Sale right now.
Yeah, tickets will be on sale on the 24th and of this month, so it's only less than 2 weeks away. The show is the end of February, and in March we have 5 performances, and I have to stress, and we'll probably say it more than once this morning, that you have to get your tickets early, because many of our shows have sold out, and some of them have sold out 2 weeks before the performances.
Isn't that a nice problem?
Yeah, but it's a nice problem, but for those that want to see the shows, you can't delay in going ahead and calling the box office and securing your tickets early on, because we feel it's going to sell out.
Jim, we look at the, and I see your nice button there, the Lancaster Players, very appropriate for this. As we look at the growth in maybe a year, I'm not sure how long Lancaster Players have been here, a year?
We're in our second season.
Second season,
now.
okay.
Yes.
The growth has really been phenomenal. I mean, you start from zero, and to get to this point in just a couple of years, the board, great work from the board and Lauren and everybody involved. I mean, things are going well.
And you know, with this production, we've managed to attract actors from as far away as Logan and North Columbus.
Really?
So we have quite a broad area that we've attracted. We've got some real good talent. Vocal talent is exceptional. We don't think anybody's going to be disappointed. And we were so excited about this show and the talent that we've attracted. We added that second Saturday.
Is that right? Just give a whole nother audience an opportunity.
It's the first time we've expanded into a different weekend than the open.
And I guess that's the way it works, isn't it? When you see something that you think is going to go well, you got to give people the chance to really take that in.
And when this one is a success, we know that's going to multiply the number of people who will be interested in not only being in a production, but also just sitting in that audience. They're going to bring more people to the theater.
Lauren, when you look at how many cast members will we have in this?
This has 10 cast members.
A lot of moving parts.
Just to add to what Jim said, we opened the Lancaster Playhouse back October a couple years ago now, not this past, but
2015.
2015. And in that show, we had, I think it was 14 cast members. It sold out to over 300 people. And then we came back with Nonsense that sold out with over 300 people. We actually had audiences of over 1,000 people our first year. So what I'm excited about, the thing that Jim said was our outreach is way beyond Lancaster, far more than we ever dreamed. I will post auditions on like Central Ohio auditions and so on, and where we get our actors has just been phenomenal. They've driven here as far away as Dublin to be in our shows, and I never thought that would happen.
Well, it says a lot, I think, for what they feel will be the quality and what they'll be able to produce here.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Let me give a plug to you. I have a great website, too. I use that as a good resource, thelancasterplayhouse.org. Lots of information on there. And,
Yes.
you really keep that up to date.
Yeah, and one thing we've expanded too, we've expanded in so many different ways, and we've expanded our website to include, for those interested, and we have over 150 now that have signed up, there's a tab on the website, the lancasterplayhouse.org, where you can sign up for what's called Constant Contact. And that gives you personalized emails into your phone or into your laptop about news that's occurring for the Lancaster Playhouse. So you're current with cast members, a biography of a cast member, special events. We had a reception this past fall. We had almost 75 people that came to a special thank you reception for those that have supported the Lancaster Playhouse in the past year. They found out about that through Constant Contact. So for the viewers today, I would recommend that you sign up for that. So
just go on the website.
You know exactly what we're doing week to week almost.
So it's thelancasterplayhouse.org. That's your website. Get it on there. It's Godspell. It's coming up February 24th, 25th, and March 4th, and we'll hit this again. But tell us now the best way to get tickets.
We have on our website, we'll have posted the box office number, and that box office is open as of the 24th of this month, and the best way will be through the box office to call. We recommend that you can mail in a check for your tickets, but also as an expansion of what we're offering to our supporters, you can pay for credit card over the phone. So that's another feature.
And you know you got your ticket right then.
Right. Yeah. So
I'm speaking with Lauren Peterson and Jim Cummins. And Jim, as you look at the board, is the board in on the plays that are determined, or is some other entity within the Playhouse make that decision?
Actually, it is the board.
Okay.
And we do ask for opinions from not only our patrons, but also actors who might be interested, directors who might be interested in doing something. It would be great to have directors come to us and say, hey, I'd really like to direct this show.
Oh.
And if acceptable to the board and what we think the patronage would support, we're going to go with that, because it provides another opportunity for us to grow, expand, in that we expand the directors, the actors, and so on. We're always looking for more participation.
Yeah,
in front of and behind the curtain.
I've actually, within the last week, I have posted on Central Ohio Auditions requests for interested directors for the next 2 years to let me know who
That
you
far
are,
out.
a biography,
Wow.
and what show you'd like to see done for the Lancaster Playhouse. So we are reaching out, not just the next 3 or 4 weeks or just this show. We are reaching out for the next 2 years with what we want to produce. And
Paul, if I may, Lauren, one more thing. We have, of course, another show at the end of April, and that's the importance of being earnest. And for that one, we're going
April 28th, 29th.
Yes, we're going to go ahead and Lauren has the dates for the auditions for that. British comedy is what it is.
Yeah,
it's
going to be
Wilde's.
It's going to be Oscar Wilde's The Importance of Being Earnest. The auditions for that will be the week of March 5th. Literally, we will close Godspell on the 4th, and on Monday that week we'll be looking at auditions.
Get a whole weekend to rest.
Yeah, a whole weekend to rest, and then we'll have auditions for the next show, and it has, I think it's 6 or 7 characters. The Importance of Being Earnest, Oscar Wilde's play, is read often by students in high school, So we want to reach out to the drama teachers and the English teachers in the community to let their students, encourage that their students come
Sure.
see a local production.
What a resource that is.
Yeah, and the importance of being earnest is one of the most widely known, it may be widely too,
Wildly
too,
and
but
widely.
widely known plays in English drama. So it'll be hilarious.
We've got a couple of minutes yet. I wanted to talk about your facility. I think I shouldn't assume that everyone knows where you're going to be performing. Tell me about that.
Okay, we are right across from the post office at 201 South Broad. It's called the Wilson Building by some, but not all would know that. But it's almost right at the corner of Chestnut and Broad.
I think of it as Shaw's.
Well, yeah,
I saw
Shaw's
many years ago.
Shaw's used to be there, and the second floor of the which they call the ballroom has been completely renovated. Modern facility, beautiful decor, restrooms and so on. We do have an elevator, which is fortunate because we're on the second floor.
Sure.
But
So it's handicap accessible.
Exactly.
That's important to know.
Our current location, in some regards, has challenged us because we have to do our production between other folks who we're sharing the space with.
Tear down, put up.
Oh yeah. With Godspell, for instance, we'll have to make the set completely go away and rebuild it the second weekend. So we do have our challenges. We feel lucky that we have the space we do, but we're always looking kind of over our shoulders where we can have a home, where we can have a place to build sets, a place to store sets, and a little more flexibility with schedule.
And that's something that your viewers might be able to help us with if they can think of how they might be able to help us expand into a new facility. We'd really love to have that.
So if someone has some interest in that, where they might make a suggestion, something here, something that's coming, buy tickets, again, what's the number they need to call?
The number is
740-974-6488.
Okay.
That's the box office number.
974-6488, and that's
Yes.
where they call, get their tickets, have your credit card in hand, get ready to go.
Exactly.
Tickets on sale very shortly, they're going on.
January 24th.
It's the Grammy and award-winning Stephen Schwartz with Godspell, February 24th, 25th, and April 4th. It's amazing production. I think day by day, I think some of the songs I remember for that, gosh, it brings goosebumps even to hear some of that.
Yeah,
So, gentlemen, thank you for being here. Lauren and
It's our
Jim,
pleasure.
You've
Thank
done a
you,
great
Paul.
job, and we can't.
Do we have time to?
The cast?
Yeah.
Give us a rundown quickly.
Okay,
Got about a minute.
Yeah, I wanted to give credit to the cast. It's amazing that these actors have been in many other productions. So I would say they're as seasoned a cast as we've ever had. The cast is as follows: Paul Russell, Jared Turnbull, Bree Mott, Holly Merchant, Grace Hodo, Tanner Sebastian, Shelley Riggs, Ann Bostic, Alicia Anderson, and Corey Wilcox. And we also have, for the first time, a 4-member orchestra. Now, the viewers might think, well, big deal. Well, before we've only had a piano player. We have 4 musicians now. So we're working towards a full orchestra.
Things are growing.
So, yeah.
I'd like to give that number again because I gave it wrong the first time.
Okay.
740-974-6648. It's on our beautiful
And a
poster.
beautiful
Thank you.
poster that's behind us. Gentlemen, thank you. Best of luck with
Thank you.
Godspell. We'll have you back on.
And I want to thank Carrie Peters, the director, and her assistant, Jay Matlin. Thank you for your direction and help with our production of Godspell.
Takes a village.
Yes.
It does.
Thank you.
Godspell. Thank you for joining. Back with the Fire Chief just a moment. Hello, friends, and welcome back. We appreciate Lauren and Jim being here with Godspell. Looking forward to that production coming up here down at the Wilson Ballroom, just a block or so away from us down there across from the post office. Lancaster, thelancasterplayhouse.org is their website. We'll talk to Fire Chief Dave Ward in just a second. Want to mention the good folks here at Fairfield Federal each and every week allow us to come in here. Of course, their locations are here, right downtown, the gazebo behind us, the fountain across the street. Really the main intersection in the city where so much happens throughout the year. But they also have the facility over on Fair and Pierce, and then one up at Cross Creeks Boulevard in Pickerington. And again, if you have any questions from a business, from an internet or a personal banking aspect, I would encourage you to go to fairfieldfederal.com, their website. Many questions can be answered right there about personal banking, things you can deal with, and FairfieldFederal.com, a good place to start. I mentioned before Fire Chief Dave Ward being with us. Dave, thank you for joining us.
Paul, for having me.
One of the Davids that for so long everybody, that was a requirement to be on some of the city people, wasn't it? To be named Dave?
I think so. Now in the city, there's just about me left. And Mayor Smith retired, and Dave Bailey.
Yeah. You've got some staying power,
well,
but you're young.
The Lord willing, yeah. I like to stay as long as I can.
Tell us about 2016 in the Lancaster Fire Department. As often as I see squad runs and fire truck runs, and not all of them, thankfully, are huge, but they're necessary. Looked like a pretty busy year last year.
You know, it truly does go up every year. Traditionally, historically speaking, our medic runs go up about 3%. Our fire runs are stationary to flat. This year, actually, we were up about 200 over last year.
Really?
So, yeah. So we are always busy. The medics just are 5-6 runs a piece after midnight. It's just incredible how many runs we have now with the medic.
Whenever there's a fire truck, is there a squad that goes out with them?
It depends. Like, for example, if we have an ALS, Advanced Cardiac Life Support, or some kind of an advanced EMS run, we'll send an engine along with a medic. If it's a fire run, most times you'll see an engine and a medic,
Okay.
depending on whether it's residential or commercial.
Yeah.
Yep.
We always look about the Lancaster Fire Department as well as the Lancaster Police Department. I just touched on that with Paul Martin last week. Full staff?
We
up
are
to speed?
We are. We're at 69 right now. We have one gentleman who's in Afghanistan, and this is about his 4th tour over in hostile countries. He should be back in about August, September. So counting him, we're at full staff.
So you probably can't replace anybody like that. You just have to kind of deal with it.
Right.
Yeah.
You short staff that, but what's kind of exciting and sad in the same respect is that back in the 80s, the late 80s, we hired a huge amount of people. My group that was hired, there were 15, and the group after me were about 15. So that group's now retiring. So as we plan our 5-year strategic plan, you try to anticipate these things. This year, I have 4 retirements that I know of. For a department of 70, that's quite a bit. Possibly up to maybe 6. We have one person that's been off injured for a while. Not sure what his direction is. So we could have 5 retirements in the first trimester of this year, which they're great employees, and you hate to see them go. They have a wealth, just a huge amount of knowledge. On the flip side, you're going to be able to hire some younger people. Yeah, and so it's exciting to be able to bring people. We've just hired another person who's local to sit for our exam. We've changed things where it used to be anybody could sit for the exam. It's just too cost prohibitive for a city our size to hire and then go 2 years out to train a person. It takes a year and a half now to get your medic card. It probably takes at least 6 months to get your fire card. So you're looking at 2 years. So now, just to sit for our civil service exam, you have to have your medic card and your fire card. So you're really shovel ready when you hire.
Oh, okay.
And we've hired, in the last 2 years, 5 or 6 people. This year we're going to hire 4 or 5 more. So you really have a way to influence the department. And I tell these young firefighters, I said, we're really not hiring you. We know your skills. You've passed the state test on both fire and EMS. We're hiring for attitude. We want people that want to be in Lancaster. It's a great community. I remember when I graduated from college and I was in industrial sales, and about 3 years out, I thought, this is not working for me. And I said, Lord, get me back to Lancaster and I'll be happy. And He's blessed me. I've been in this department now almost 28 years. I've been fortunate enough to move my way up. And I couldn't ask for better. And we want people like that are tied to our community, that want to be here. Because I think in the end, it's not necessarily money, because we're not the highest paid department in Central Ohio. You have to move toward the Pickerington and the Columbus market. But it's not normally it's job satisfaction that keeps people.
Sure.
And if you have local people who are born and bred here or have a real tie here, then you've got a person who's going to be a lifelong producer and happy employee.
Yeah, you like that.
Yeah.
I know you are a statistical nut on some of these things. You track things to the nth degree. Response time staying, and as the city expands and gets bigger, I'm sure that gets more difficult. You don't have more stations, you just have more places to go. Response time still pretty stable?
They are stable with all areas except, and I brought this up last year, almost a year ago to this date, to the state of the city. And my vision is to better improve our services to that northwest quadrant, which would be up around Riverview Surgical Center and Dominion Home and Wacker, up in that area. The NFPA, which is the standards that we try to go by, says you want to have one engine on scene within 4 minutes and a full complement by 8. Well, we're really stretching that in that northwest quadrant. So I told the mayor, and I've addressed it to our safety committee, that I would like to see us somehow address how do we better serve that. First off, it's going to require more people, and that's just the way it is. That's the biggest cost in the fire service. 94% of our costs are salaries.
Sure.
So we can't do it we can't just build an engine house. It takes people.
Yeah.
We since the recession, and we've downsized from 92 to what we are now at 70, we were really limited out on what we can do. So it's going to take more money. It's going to take a levy of some sort to really adequately fund police and fire to where we need to be as far as.
So you're looking at something being built in that area?
I would like to see that. You know, somebody said, well, let's condense and consolidate and tear down. And our average engine house is 76 years old.
Yeah.
Between the three. And we need another engine house. West Side's placed perfectly. It's our busiest engine house. They're within 4 minutes of a ton of our runs. The hill here behind St. Mary's, again, well placed. The east side takes care of the east side very well. We really need to go that way, but it's going to take, first and foremost, more people, and then build the engine house.
Is that right?
That's my thinking.
So a levy is out there at some point in the future.
If that's the only way
Yeah.
we're going to improve that service.
It may not look at today as the sun comes in. It looks so beautiful. It's really winter time. The only thing basically the one thing I know about fire prevention is when we change the time, I change the batteries and the smoke detectors. There's a lot more to that.
Yeah, you know what? That's a big part of it, though. You know, most of the time when you have a fatal fire, we go in, we do our investigation. They don't have either one, they don't have smoke detectors, or number two, the batteries weren't working. So that's the big part. I mean,
I needed some AA batteries for a flashlight. I had to take them out, Dave.
Christmas time, he goes to the toys. But there's more to winter time, and you know, the holidays. You have cooking fires. That's the most prevalent cause of fires. But now you want to make sure that your carbon monoxide furnaces are working right.
Yeah.
Your flues, if you have gas hot water tanks or gas furnaces, that your flues are at the right angle and they're doing their thing properly. Generators. We had an instance this fall where the power was off. This person had a generator in the garage or close to it, which was not, the exhaust was not going out, it's coming in. And our firefighters actually were next door on a medic run, saw that and said, and it was like 3 a.m. They knocked on this person's door and they had their TMX 412 or their carbon monoxide detector, flammable gas detector, and it instantly alerted, which means it's lethal ranges. And I have no doubts that if they hadn't have done that, by the morning there could have been a fatality or two in that house.
Isn't that remarkable?
So you want to make sure if the power does go off like it's done the last week or so with that high winds we had, that if you're using generators, you have them outside far enough away from your house and it's properly wired and all that. So that's one thing. If you're burning wood, make sure that take those ashes outside and dump them. A lot of times you'll have a fire where people will dump them ashes in a bucket, set the bucket, say, on the back porch, a wooden deck. And 2 days, 3 days later, you've got a working fire. So you just got to kind of use some common sense about safety. And
we see many turkey fires from the siding being melted on the deck where we've decided to drop a turkey. Maybe that's over now.
I think it is. You know, I remember on crew, it was a high state game, I think. And so here it was, we got this house fire and it was a garage and the guy had put too much oil in it and got that thing going and it caught onto his garage. So we don't see that many anymore.
Yeah, I think everybody's kind of wised up. That maybe that's not for me. Maybe I'll buy that turkey.
Exactly.
I won't do that.
Right.
We talked about before we went on, it wasn't that long ago, there was this huge fire out in Oakland, California. Tremendous amount of property damage, but more than that, tremendous loss of life. I think maybe 20, 30 people?
36, actually.
36 people died. And all these things always aren't preventable, but some are.
Right.
And I guess as from your standpoint, that's a job that your folks do when they look at commercial buildings. And you go around and look at perhaps things that are empty, but even ones that are in business. You look for things that would prevent those things.
It's a 24/7 job to go out, and we inspect all commercial buildings, and we're looking for, make sure that your emergency egress lights are working, that you have extinguishers, but also, for example, that they call it the ghost shift, which was out in Oakland, California, the ghost shift. You remember that?
Right.
And this had never been inspected, and I don't know how it slipped through their wheels. So what we do is we go out there and And sometimes people get upset with us because we'll go in and we'll say, do you have a certificate of occupancy? And there's steps that if you're moving a business in that you have to take through the building department.
You're not just harassing people.
We're not harassing you. Honestly, when you think back to the exposure that Warwick, Rhode Island had, they had a huge fire in about 2001. It killed 100 people.
Oh.
And this was an interesting one because it was actually being videotaped for fire safety. The owner of the bar was doing a fire safety film. And so there were cameras there, and they watched this. And this group that was there had a rock and roll group, and they were having pyrotechnics, unpermitted pyrotechnics. And when they set off the gerbs, it went up into what was really just eggshell crates for sound. And long story short, it flamed up. Within 3 or 4 minutes, you had 100 people dead. Oh. Terrible loss of life. But long story short, by the time the lawsuits and the settlements came out, the fire department of Warwick, Rhode Island, and the state of Rhode Island both were hit with $10 million lawsuits. They settled. They settled for $10 million. So I guess my point is, anytime you have cutbacks and you're looking at trying to do more with less, the first thing that municipalities want to do is cut back fire prevention, which is a terrible thing to do. I mean, it's how you reduce fires. And so Oakland, California is going to be interesting. They didn't make it to inspect that. They had gone a couple times to try to make contact, but it wasn't successful. So my point is, we do a lot of things in the code enforcement. If we come to your business, we're checking to make sure your business is safe.
And there's a reason for that. You're
There's
just
a
not
reason.
there to, if that bulb's burnt out, it may be important to have that
Right.
bulb put back in.
Yeah.
If the battery doesn't work
Right.
or doors locked.
Doors, egress doors, when you're open, they have to be open. If they're an egress way, they have to be uncluttered. A lot of stores want to pile up their stuff in aisleways and exit ways. You can't do that. And that's what we're looking for, to make sure if there were to be a fire, and it happens, that people get out safely.
Our guest has been Lancaster Fire Department Chief Dave Ward, and I had Paul Martin on a week ago, and I told him this: I appreciate the job that he and all the city workers do, and certainly the police and the fire department, you and all your staff, and virtually understaffed all the time, but still get the job done each and every day. We appreciate it, Dave.
And you know what, really, I can speak for all 70 of us. We appreciate the opportunity to work here in Lancaster and the citizens. They do great by us.
Well, we're glad you all are here, and keep up the good work.
Thank you.
You're doing the Lord's work out there.
I appreciate
Thanks,
it. Thank
David.
you.
Dave Ward, Fire Chief. That's our show in Fairfield Today.
Interface Video presents Fairfield Today. Brought to you by Fairfield Federal Savings and Loan, Fairfield Medical Center, Fairhope Hospice and Palliative Care, the Fairfield County Board of Developmental Disabilities, and the Frankie Smith Funeral Home.